Internal rotation, yeah. So you want to watch that. And for supination, what you'll see is you'll see people do this. So they're using actual trunk rotation. And then you'll be thinking, wow, they really got a lot of movement, okay? So, ulna on both sides, okay? Just proximal to the wrist. Where are we at now? Okay, wrist flexion, wrist extension. I need a, we'll do Angela. All right. Now, they show you doing it a couple different ways, actually. They show you doing it over the edge of the table, and you can, okay? So if you're going to do it over the edge of the table, then you have to make sure what? That the wrist joint clears the table, okay? Because if you have it right here, that's actually going to impede your movement a little bit. So if you decided to do it this way, and I'm absolutely fine with it, you have to make sure that your arm is going to actually clear, your wrist is going to actually clear the edge of the table, okay, so that there's no impediment at all. Okay? Most of the times what you will see clinically is you'll see people do it up on a table, so come on up. Okay. Now, the book shows you doing it two different ways. They show you actually putting the axis on the side, okay, of the hand, okay, right on the side. And then what they do is they have you going through. If you're going to do this, where's my moving stable arm going to be? Okay, right down the center. Okay, my fulcrum or my axis is going to be where? Right at her, right at her wrist joint. Okay, my moving arm is going to be pretty much in the center of my fifth MCP. Okay, metacarpal. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and have her flex. Go ahead and flex your wrist, and I'm going to follow her down. Okay. Get about 62. Okay, my stable arm stays exactly where it is. My moving arm again stays through the fifth metacarpal. The optional way to do it and what you will see most likely clinically is you'll have it over the volar or the dorsal surface of the arm. So same thing. I'm going to come down. I'm going to follow her. The thing about this one is that a lot of times you kind of have to adjust and make it and pop it up a little bit, and then so that it lays flush to the skin. Let's try that one more time. Okay. Go ahead and start. Okay, so I'm actually getting her a little bit less in this one. Doesn't matter which way you do it, but you need to be consistent. So if you measure it one way, then if I measured it here, I'm going to do wrist flexion and extension that way. If I measure it this way, I'm going to do both wrist flexion and extension. So then for extension, what would I be doing? These ones that have the strange colors, they throw me. Okay, so where's my stationary arm? Perpendicular to the floor, okay. Right in the middle of the arm. I don't have it cocked to one side. My axis is where?
Wrist joint.
Okay. And where's my moving arm?
Yeah.
She's a little, there you go. She's starting a little bit, some extension. Okay. And then I'm going to ask her to what?
Extend.
And I'm going to follow her, so extend as far as you can. Okay, again, going to be through the fifth metacarpal. Ah! Don't drop it though. My axis stays the same, and I moved it a little bit. I think she has about 46. Let's try that again. You've got more than that. I know you do. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, there we go. 52. Okay, my opposite way to do that would be to what? Okay, kind of right in the center. Again, and you're going to not start exactly flat. Do you see how my goniometer is actually starting in a little, about 20 degrees already? Okay, that's okay. I have to keep this flush to the skin, okay? Go ahead and extend, okay? And see, this is where it gets kind of tricky because I actually have to take it and I have to kind of slide it up a little bit in order to get it flush, okay? Either or is acceptable, but just make sure that you're consistent, okay? Wrist flexion extension. What do we have next? Oh, we did the elbow flexion and extension. Let's talk about the digits. Who did I borrow this for again? All right, who's got a finger? Oops, goniometer. Okay. So, with the digits and the goniometer, what becomes the stable arm and the moving arm is not as important because depending on what position you're going to put the digits at, you won't be able to necessarily, I'm not going to be able to get in here and do this, correct? Well, what's my alternative? I would actually have to go in there and flip it to get that, okay? Now, for our testing, we're kind of looking at the digits in what I would call an isolated fashion. We're not looking at a composite fist. If you're going to be doing hand therapy, occupational therapy that is focusing on hands, then what you most likely you're going to see is they're going to be measuring a composite fist. By a composite fist, I mean that you have MCP, PIP, and DIP all coming down into a full grasp type hand. Okay? Why? Why am I more concerned with this than I am with this? Function. This tells me a little bit more functionally what's going on. Because for the most part, you're going to get more PIP and DIP flexion when you do this. Why? Has to do with the E word. A little bit of excursion, absolutely, but yeah. Because I get more excursion because I've taken what out of the game now? I've taken MCP flexion out of the game. So now I can use all that excursion to pull my IPs into flexion, okay? When I do this, these measurements should actually be a little bit less because now I have to have excursion at all 3 joints. Make sense? Okay. So the easiest way to do this one, who can I pick on now? Who haven't I picked on? I don't know. Everybody's looking at me like, don't. I'll pick on Carol. Okay, so, I'm going to pull my pants up so that's not on tape. Okay, so I would have her come on up onto the table. Okay, I'm going to do MCP. I'm only for the test going to ask you to do 1 finger. Okay, so how would I do this? Okay, I'm going to ask her to make, for the MCP, I do want you to ask them to make a composite fist. Okay, so that you're really getting it down there in the MCPs. That's how I want you to actually measure the MCPs. Now what happens when I do this? Okay, you want to try to keep her wrist in a neutral position as much as possible. Why do I not want her to do it this way? Because of excursion, right. And it's not comfortable, insufficiency, we could go on and on. So you want to keep her hand in about, as much of a neutral position as possible. Carol, go ahead and make it fist as tight as you can. Okay, I'm going to run into a problem here. Who can tell me what my problem is? Well, I mean, her wrist is okay. She's in a little extension, but what's going on with is this an accurate measurement? No. Why? Her arm is in the way, absolutely. So what am I going to have to do? In this instance, I'm actually going to have to flip, okay? I'm going to line it right in the middle of her MCP, the head of her MCP. Oops, excuse me. Right down the middle, okay? So she's got almost 70 there. 78. Good. Now, when I go to do her eyepiece, what am I going to do? I'm going to isolate it. What do I mean by that? I'm going to have her come up and do one of these maneuvers, okay? Now, if you want to and you feel comfortable with it, you can go ahead and do them both if you can remember the numbers and then write it down, or you could do one, write it down, and then do the other one. If you do that, though, I would have her go ahead and relax while you're doing that, and then have her pull back down again. Okay, so I'm going to do the PIP, which is where? In the middle, absolutely. So this one's not as much of an idea. I would probably, let me see, I'm curious. Yeah, I could really go either direction on this one because it's not going to interfere. But if she's pulling her wrist into even more extension, then it would start to interfere. That's one reason why you want to try to keep them at a neutral position. But just the shape of some people's wrists and their forearms is, if it doesn't lay flat, flip it, okay? Because it's not as important. All right, she's really good. I'm getting about, can't see that far away. Don't tell me. 93 degrees, okay? When you are in, go ahead and relax. When you are in isolated PIP and DIP, 100 is a norm. 90 to 100 is a norm. When you're actually down in this kind of a position, 80 to 90 tends to be more of a norm. Okay? All right, good. Come back up. Now we're going to do the DIP. So go ahead and pull down as far as you can. Okay? Obviously, this isn't going to work for me, but this is going to work for me. Okay? I'm going to go right in the center. I'm going to try not to press too much. She's got about 70. 0 to 70. Okay? And I'm going to assume I'm not having, gotta work out more. I'm not going to have you guys do extension because what are you going to also do? When you're all done, even before, you're going to have her come up to full extension. You come up to full extension. If she's at full extension, then you know you have 0. What did I have? 0 to 100, 92, 0 to 92. What did we just get on the VIP? I don't remember. 0 to 70. Okay. But if she didn't have full, then you would have to go back in and see what that angle was. Okay.
So we're not worried about hyperextension.
I'm not worried about hyperextension. I'm not going to have you guys do, but you could do hyperextension. That's why it goes backwards like this. Okay. If you could actually go in and do hyperextension to actually hyperextend.